Okay, so 7.5. So you have the notes packet again. We have the 1040 form here is how we read this number, not 1040, 1040 form that you use to file your taxes. Now I kind of changed this lesson. I decided to not fill out the form because typically in the real world, very few people actually use that form by hand anymore. Obviously, in the past for computers, you had to use that actual tax form. But nowadays, when you use software like TurboTax, they just ask you for information and then basically spit out the answers to you. They don't have you fill out the form. You could, if you print your taxes, this is the form that will be printed, all filled out. So we're just going to kind of go through the process in general, as opposed to actually filling out that form. So even if you have the notes, we are going to be kind of following along with this. You do not have this written out in your notes like this. So just wherever you have space in your notes, we are going to be filing taxes for this person, for Elizabeth Elysian. Given her W-2 and this information, we are going to use these bits of information. But again, what we're going to do is just kind of follow through the steps rather than actually literally fill out the form. Because again, in the real world, you're not going to be filling out that form yourself. You're going to be using TurboTax, and they'll do it all for you. However, we still want to understand the process. You want to understand what's going on actually when TurboTax does it all for you. So again, just follow along here wherever you have space in your notes. You do need these 2 slides in your notes packet, which I believe, do I have it here? Yes, which is these 2 slides are on page, so it's kind of cut off. It's 86, but the page is going to cut off. 86, as well as we will be using this tax table. So let's go ahead. Let's talk through this. This is the entire. We added on just the tax credits. We sorted on this before, but this is the entire process for going through your taxes. So again, we're going to be referring to your W-2 and this information as well. So step 1, whenever you do your taxes, is finding the total income. So looking back here, let's see what info we got. Well, she has her job. Looking at this W-2, how much money did she make? Where is that information on the W-2? Well, it's right there. That's her wages, tips, and other compensation on the W-2. So it's her income from her job. But if we look here, she also has some other income. This right here, taxable interest and dividends, these are also income that has to be taxed. Now, we haven't talked about interest yet, actually. You can actually earn interest off of a savings account. We're going to go back to that. That's Unit 4 after spring break. And dividends come from the stock market, and we're going to get to that also after spring break. So with the total income, she has her job and these 2 things. Go ahead and find her total income then. Once again, here's the job. Make sure you got it written down. And these 2 things here. Okay, so her job was $83,600, right? Plus $812 plus $444. Again, even if it's not from a job, it has to get taxed. So you have to report any income, even if it's not off of a job. Again, this $812 was off of a savings account, and this was off of the stock market. So we got 84856. So here is her total income. But we know that this is not all that gets taxed, right? Because everybody has a deduction. So let's look back to our information again. It says she is filing head of household. So she's going to go ahead and just claim the standard deduction instead of itemized. Remember, you can only either itemize or claim the standard. So this is the standard deduction. Now, again, what that means is the government is going to pretend she didn't make that much money. Now, she made more than that, so she's going to get taxed on the rest, but she's not going to get taxed on that. So what should we do then to find her taxable income if she's doing the standard deduction of $18,350? We should subtract, right? Here is her actual income, but not all of that's going to get taxed because she's filing head of household. Remember that head of household means single with a child. So she's got a bigger deduction than somebody who is just single because children are expensive. So the government says, ooh, we're going to pretend you didn't make this much money because you've got a kid. That's expensive. So even though she made the $84,856, this is actually how much is going to get taxed. That's the second step in doing your taxes, is figuring out, okay, here's all your income, but how much are we actually going to tax you on? Now that we know how much is actually going to be taxed, now we can figure out the taxes that should have been paid. Because again, this is what's getting taxed. We can then go to the tax table, right? Once we know the taxable income, then we can go to this tax table. So you do have this in your notes if you have your notes. Here's our taxable income, 66506. I'll copy it over here. And she is head of household. So take a moment. You should be able to see it here on the screen. What should she have paid in taxes then, since now we know her taxable income? Okay, well, good Lord. Head of household. You should be looking in this last column. I'm looking at 506, really. I want to see where that falls. So that falls in between right here, 500 and 550, right? Therefore, this is my answer where these two rows cross, 9,184. So taxes you should have paid, once again, this comes from the tax table, 9,184. And again, the reason why we're able to say that now is because we have found the taxable income. Again, you pay taxes throughout the year and hope that it's enough, but you don't really know your taxable income until you file your taxes. So now that we've come to file our taxes, we know the taxable income. And so they go, okay, based on your year, this is how much you should have paid. Now, let's compare to what you did pay. Now, we learned that tax credits are not like tax deductions, right? Tax deductions decrease the number we're going to use. Like a tax deduction would have decreased this number. A tax credit directly decreases how much you owe in taxes. So when we find taxes you did pay, again, you are going to include any tax credits because they are pretending you paid that, right? It's a credit. So let's look back to our information. Find on here where it says, how much she paid in federal taxes. Again, because this is the federal tax form we're filing, how much did she pay in federal taxes? Right here, again, your W-2 is the how much you did pay, right? From your job, here's how much you did pay. So 15,884. So let's come back here. Pen. So taxes, she did pay 15,884. However, she also gets a tax credit, right? Because she has a kid. So read through it. How much is she getting for that kid because she has a tax credit? $2,000. Yes, this is why people want to claim kids, because she gets the child tax credit as well. She's going to get a massive refund here. A lot, yeah? So let's go ahead and add these together. This is technically how much she did pay because she also, again, is getting that tax credit for her kid. So tax deductions, again, are for taxable income. Tax credits are directly counted towards what you did pay. So once you have reached this step in your taxes, you're at the last step. We compare what should have been paid to what did get paid, including tax credits. And then we can say refund or owe. So focus on which is which. This is the should have paid. This is the did pay. Do we think refund or owe? This is a refund. Because again, guys, you have to focus on which is which. She did pay this much, including the child tax credit. But she was only supposed to pay $9,184. So this is going to be a nice fat refund. Remember, even if it's owing, if the answer is owing taxes, we still subtract in the end. So 17,884 minus 9,184 is 8,700. So she's going to get that check sent to her bank account And again, if she didn't have that kid, her taxes would be different. This is why you can't look at somebody and be like, oh, we make the same amount of money, we have to pay the same amount of taxes. No, it is very dependent on your own situation. Not only because she has a kid, but also because she's single. Yeah, that affected her taxes. So that is the entire process that happens when you file. Again, we've done this process before in a different lesson. We just added on the tax credits, yeah? So, like I said, in the real world, you can kind of look over this form. You would never fill this form out by hand and mail it off to the IRS. It just doesn't happen nowadays. However, like I said, even though TurboTax does it all for you, or your tax person does it all for you, you really want to understand what's going on with this stuff. You want to know where's your money going and why, right? So that is the process that you're going to follow through. Make sure you're paying attention to where this information came from. I am going to write one more thing here if you want to make a note. Taxes you did pay came from the W-2 and any other tax credits. Should have paid is the tax table. That's the government form. Taxes you did pay is the W-2. That came from your employer and any of the tax credits as well.